Okay, so let's work through this question here. So what we have three different types of triangles, and we have angles being formed by the triangles. So what does it ask us to do? So in each of the following diagrams, so we have these diagrams, 1, 2, and 3. The arrows indicate that the lines are parallel. So these arrows here, okay. So what it means is that these lines are parallel. So if we remember with parallel lines will be lines that will not intersect. So they'll just continue on in one direction. So for example, these two lines here are considered parallel because they will go on and on and on indefinitely. So remember, lines go on and on indefinitely in sort of going on in one direction, but the lines will never actually cross. So that's what we mean by parallel lines. So what's the question asking us to do? So find the value for x. So you want to find x. So we see here we have x here, we have an x here, and then we have an x here. So your goal is to try and figure out what x is. And what this will do is it'll test your knowledge of triangles, and then it'll also test your knowledge of angles and lines. So if you haven't done these questions, what I would encourage you to do is to pause the video and try and work through the questions. So I'll go through them one at a time. So I'm going to do this one first. So question 1, I'm going to work through this one first. But what I'd encourage you to do is just pause the video and give it a go if you haven't done it already. So what do we have to do? So the first thing, what we're looking at here is we want to try and figure out what the value for x is. Now there's a couple of things that we need to take into account. If we have a look at the type of triangle that we have, so I'm going to draw the triangle just to take it out of the parallel lines. So we have a triangle, and what it tells us is it has a line and a line going through it like that. So what that is indicating is that these two lines are equal to each other. Now what we have then is we have an angle here. So if these two lines are equal to each other, then these two angles here are equal to each other as well. So what we have then, so what we want to try and do is try and figure what this is. If we can figure out what this angle is, we can figure out what this angle is. Or another way that we can look at it is if we look at this angle here, this angle here is an alternative angle to this. So this angle here, okay, this angle is equal to x as well. So this angle and this angle are equal to each other. So that might be actually another way that we could try and work this out. So if this angle here is 56, then this angle here also needs to be equal to 56 because they're opposite angles, they're opposite to each other. So what we can say is that, so x is equal to 56 degrees. Okay, so that's the first one that we've looked at. So let's have a look at the second one here. So again, we have a triangle. So let's just draw out the triangle. Let's just use a different color. So the second one. So we have a triangle, and we can see we have these two lines going through it, like so, which indicates that these two opposite sides are equal to each other, they're equal in length. Now if they're equal in length, what that means is that this angle and this angle are also equal to each other. So we can see that one of these angles is 50 degrees, so it's this one here, so it's 50. So all I've done is I've taken this triangle out and flipped it on its base, so it's 50 degrees, so therefore this angle here then is 50 as well. So this angle has to be 50. So if these two angles are equal to each other, then we have to think, so remember this angle plus this angle plus this angle here, they all have to add up to 180 degrees. So if we, let's say, so what we can say then is that, let's say we can call this x. So this angle x that we've drawn here is going to be equal to this angle here. Because again, similar to what we had, similar to the setup we have here, they're alternate angles. So what we can say that then is that, so we can work out then, if we work out what this angle down here x is, then we can work out what the angle x is there. So what we can say is that, remember that the three angles in a triangle have to add up to 180 degrees. So if you have 50 plus 50, and then we just call this angle x, so that's the angle that it's this angle here. So 50 plus 50 plus x has to equal to 180 degrees when we add the three of them up. So 50 plus 50, it's 100 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. So now we want to find out what x is. So we want to get rid of the 100 on this side. So this is plus 100, so we have to minus 100 from this side. If we minus 100 from this side, we have to minus 100 from this side. So these will cancel out, and x is going to be equal to 80. So 80 degrees. So therefore, this angle up here is equal to 80 degrees. So if that angle is equal to 80 degrees, then this angle has to be equal to 80 degrees as well. So that's that's part 2. And then if we move on to question 3 then. So what have we got here? So again, we'll just draw our triangle. Let's try a different color. So we have our triangle. We have these lines indicating that both of these sides are equal to each other. If both sides are equal to each other, this angle and this angle have to be equal to each other. So x and x. So whatever this is, x, so this is also equal to x. So whatever x is here. Now if we have a look here, so what we have is we have two parallel lines running like this. And then we have a line that crosses both of them, like so. So what we know is that whatever this angle, so for example, whatever this angle and this angle will be equal to each other. And that's the setup we have here. So this is 62, so therefore this x here has to be 62 as well. So in this case then, if this x on this side is 62, so if this one is 62, then this one has to be 62 as well, because these lines are equal to each other. So that's 62. Okay. So if we go back over these, so for example, the types of lines and angles that we have. Like if we look at these two angles here, these are what are known as alternate angles. So if we remember, so they're alternate angles. If we look at these two angles here, so what type of angles are they? So sorry, these here, so now. So these ones over here are what are known as alternate angles, and these ones here are what are known as corresponding angles. So they're corresponding angles. What else do we have? So again, these ones here then would also be altering angles as well. Okay, so that's how you do those questions. So again, what I would encourage you to do, just pause the video, go back, have a look at them, and just make sure that you're able to answer those questions, those type of questions. Okay, so let's just move on and we'll attempt the next question, question 10. So question 10 then. So let's have a look at what it's asking for. So in the given diagram, equal sides are marked. Equal sides are marked. So again, we can see this here and here. Find the size of the angles marked C and D. So we have this angle here, C, and then we have this angle here, D. So you want to find out their sizes. So let's work through this one. So let's focus on this triangle first of all. And we'll just take it out and have a look at it. So we have a triangle like that. So imagine imagine this is the base here. So this is the base. So all we're doing is we're just sitting it on its base like so. And what it gives us these lines here. So it tells us that these two lines are equal to each other. And it gives us one of the angles here, which is 58 degrees. Now, if this angle is 58 degrees, then this angle here has to be 58 as well. Okay, so these two angles here have to be equal to each other. So this angle here has to be 58. So it's the particular type of triangle that we're looking at here. So remember the type of triangle. So it's an isosceles triangle. So if we know these two angles here, what we can do is we can figure out what this angle is up here. And that, what we're working out, it's going to be this angle here. So remember, if we call this we call this the angle C, because this angle, so whatever C is going to be equal to the C here, because they're opposite angles. So what we can say is that, so we can say that 58 plus 58 plus C is equal to 180 degrees. Remember, with triangles, the three angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So what we can say then is we can add these up. So 58, we take 58 and 58. So 58 plus 58 is equal to 116. So we can say that 116 plus C is equal to 180. So now we can figure out what C is. So we want to get rid of the 116 from this side. So this is just the algebra that we would have been working on. So this is plus 116. So we want to get rid of it, change it to 0. So we have to minus 116. If we minus 116 from one side, we have to minus 116 from the other side. So these will cancel out. And C then is going to be equal to 180 minus 116. So let's do that. So we have 180 minus 116, and that's equal to 64. So 64 degrees. So C is 64 degrees. So what we found out is that this angle here is 64. So therefore the angle C has to be 64 as well. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out what the angle D is. So again, what we can do is we can take out this triangle. So this corresponds to this triangle here. And what we'll do is we'll remove this other triangle. So I'm going to bring this triangle and draw it down here. And I'm going to put it on its base. So it's a kind of thin one that looks like that. So let's say if this is the so imagine this here is the base. So this is the base here. So what we see is we have these two lines here. So it's the same type of triangle. It's just a skinnier one. And we have one of the angles, which is this angle here. Sorry, no, this is angle C. So this angle and this angle, these are both equal to each other. And we worked out that the angle C is 64 degrees. So this is 64 degrees, this is 64 degrees. So both of them have to be equal to each other. So in an isosceles triangle, the two side lengths are equal to each other, and also the two angles within here are equal to each other as well. So now what we have to do is we have to figure out what D is equal to. So again, we can use this same algebra here to figure out what that angle is. So what we know is that 64 plus 64 plus the angle D has to equal to 180 degrees. It's the rules of a triangle. 64 and 64, if we add those up. So 64 plus 64 is equal to 128. So 128 plus D is equal to 180. So now what we want to do is we want to get rid of this 128. So this is plus 128, so we want to minus 128. And if we minus 128 from this side, we have to minus 128 from this side as well. So what will happen is these will cancel out, and D is going to be equal to 180 minus 128. So 180, what do we say it was? 180 minus 128. So it's equal to 52. So D then is equal to 52 degrees. And that's how you would work that question there. So again, so these kind of questions, it's just important that you know. So what we're doing is we're pulling together a lot of different sections, let's say, within the course that we've done so far. So there's some algebra there, there's lines, and then there's triangles then as well. So that's those questions. So it's questions 9 and 10. So have a look at them, and it's important that you know how to do them. Okay guys, thank you.